All right, this is the project that we are going to be looking at for the 45-degree angles. And what we're going to have is this corner right here is going to be a 45-degree angle and come together to create a miter joint along this whole edge. So this corner and each of the other corners, this one and this one and this one, are all going to be 45 degrees. Now underneath here is going to be a bottom, and this bottom is going to fit into a rabbet into these side pieces. And we have this laid out on our piece of plywood already, and I will open that up and show you. So this is the plywood view. This is 2 out of the 3 pieces we're going to need. We have our front and back of the cabinet. We have our 2 sides, and we have the bottom underneath that is on the bottom of the cabinet that I just showed you. The third piece is going to be one of these. That's the top of the cabinet that the solid top is going to get attached to. So what we're going to need to have is these pieces brought over to SketchUp, and in order to do that, we need to save them as a 2016 version. So I'm going to come up to my menu and go File, Save As, and I am going to choose the option, whatever you want to call it. I put your name on there so you can find it. You're going to have the flash drive attached so you can save it in the flash drive, but you need to save it as a 2016 version in order for our CAD CAM software to recognize the vector lines that are getting imported. So choose 2016, choose the flash drive that shows up in your location, and then put your name in front of this and save it. So we're going to start in a spire, which is this little red spire here, or this little logo up here, whatever one you want to be using, it doesn't matter. We're going to double click and we're going to go create a new file, and we're going to put 48 inches wide, 96 inches tall, 0.75 inches thick, and hit OK down here at the bottom. Then we're going to load your plan. So I'm going to come up here to this file right up here, and I am going to choose from downloads where I put yours, land and plywood view. Open. So I don't have to mess with any of this. We're going to just hit OK. And there are all of our pieces on our sheets of plywood. First thing we need to do is orientate them correctly. So I'm going to click on them. You can see I get these 9 boxes that appear, and I'm going to grab the dark blue box up here, and I'm going to start rotating. And as I rotate, I'm going to hold down the Alt button. I'm going to hold down the Alt button as I'm rotating, and it will allow me to snap right at 90 degrees. Now I can take these and position them a little bit, and we're going to start with these pieces here. So I'm going to move these on to the plywood, and I can move them around. And as I get close, I can come in, I'm zooming in, and I can use the arrow keys a little bit to move them around. I don't need this box around here, right? This is the plywood sheet that we originally had. We don't need that. And we should have some separation here, which you did not put on there. So I need to move these, and I don't know if it's going to allow me to move them. They want that and that. So I got to put a little space in between there because I need room for the router bit to come around. Got a rabbet on top and a rabbet on bottom, and then we want 45 degrees on the ends. So what I'm going to do is I don't want to cut around the whole thing with the 45-degree bits. So I want to just cut on the ends with the 45-degree bits. The first thing I'm going to do is I am going to click on a box. And you can see when I click on there, I'm not getting all the way over to the edge, right? It's not coming the whole way over. I'm going to double click that again and get those 9 boxes. And if I zoom in here where I can see this middle node, right? I got top, middle, bottom. I'm going to come where this middle node is, and I'm going to just drag this over to the edge. Now I'm making that so it goes to the outside edge. I want to do the same thing over here. Click that. Oops, I didn't get it. Click that and drag it to the outside box. Okay, so that makes a pattern all the way around. This one I haven't set up yet, so I'm not getting the right thing, right? I want to click this, and let's set this up first. So I'm going to click this and take this middle node and move it out to there, and the middle node and move it out to there. Now when I click, I can get the outside, and I can get that dado and that dado, or rabbet, sorry. That pattern looks good, but we need to have these go bigger what's going to happen is we have a radius in our bit, and it would leave a radius cut on each corner here. So we want to extend these. So I click it and I get those 9 boxes, and I'm going to click the middle box up here and just drag this out. I need to go about 1/4 inch off each side. So I'm going to zoom out and do the same thing here. I've got those boxes selected. I'm going to pick the middle node and I'm going to pull it off, just a little bit. And the same thing on this one and so forth. So I can click all of these and hold shift. I got to make sure I have the right piece I want, right? That's the whole dado. So that rabbet, I'm going to hold shift down and click this rabbet and hold shift and click this rabbet. Now, since these 3 are all the same, I'm going to just click again and get those 9 boxes, and you can see it spans all of them. And I'm going to just pull all 3 of them up at once. And you can see they're all moving at once. So that's one way to do it a little bit faster if you have some that are not too far off from each other and you can kind of grab them easily. All right, so here's our pieces. What I'm going to do is we need to be able to separate these a little bit. So I'm going to come up here because we're going to have to break some of this apart. And I'm going to click this rabbet. I'm going to hold this rabbet and this rabbet and this rabbet. And I click shift each time I click that, and then I got all of them selected. And I'm going to right click over these, and I'm going to move these to a different layer. So I'm going to move to a layer, and I'm going to click new. And I'm going to call this rabbets. Save. Whoops. Enter. Okay. So now what I can do when I want to see things, I can come up here to layers on the top, and I can click this, and I can choose my rabbets layer, and I can turn the light bulb off, and now I don't see it. Okay, now all I am seeing is the 2 outside edges. Okay, so maybe what I'll do is I'm going to make a copy of these because I'm going to need to break them apart. So I'm going to Control C, Control V to paste them. And since they're still highlighted, I'm going to right click again, and I'm going to put these on a different layer, and I'm going to move these to new layer, and this is going to be outside box. I don't want to get rid of those. I want to keep those. So I'm going to click that. Now I can come up here and I want to turn the outside box off. And that just leaves me with these 2 pieces here. Okay, so now I'm going to break these apart. So if I click on here and I click on it, I can't separate them. It's one big loop. So what I need to do is I need to come in here and I'm going to click on the keyboard. I'm going to click N. This is going to get me in the node editing tool. So I'm going to click on this node up here. I'm going to right click. I'm going to cut the vector. I'm going to come up to this one and right click and cut the vector. And I'm going to zoom. I can do this one while I'm here since I can see it on the screen. Right click, cut the vector. Right click, cut the vector. Right click. Oops, I want to be on the corner though. And I want to cut the vector. Cut the vector. Cut. And cut. Okay, so now I'm going to hit N on the keyboard again to get out of the node editing tool. And now I'm back to my normal cursor. Now that I have these workable and I can click each line and have them selected separately, I'm going to start setting up the toolpaths. So I'm going to come over to the other tool menu, and that's clicking here. I'm going to switch to the toolpaths, and I'm going to work on these 2 right here. So I'm just doing this sheet first. And as I click here, okay, I want to click the outside edges, and these 2 are going to be the same, and we can select these 2 as well. Okay, so these 2 are going to be the same, or these 4, and I'm going to go ahead and do a profile toolpath. I want to cut a profile right along this edge, and we're going to go 3/4 of an inch deep, and right here, I am going to choose on the line. So outside the line would mean that the bit would be on the outside. Inside the line would mean it would be on the inside, and on the line would be the bit is straddling right down the center of the line. That's what we want on the line for this cut. Okay, normally we're outside. For most of other things we do is outside, but we're going to be on for this one. We're going to come down and we're going to put nothing else in here. That should all be good. We can put a ramp on this. This would be good. This keeps the bit from going straight in. It just kind of eases it into the cut with some angles. So we're going to put ramps on there, and we're going to call this a 45-degree bit. And we need to choose the bit. We haven't done that yet. So up here at the top, we passed that. We're going to choose toolpath. or the tool. And I don't want the bit that's selected. I want to change that. So I'm going to hit select and I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to choose from some that I've entered and V bits. That's what I want. And I want a 90 degree. Half a 90 is 45. So I want a 90 degree, and the diameter of the bit, you're going to choose which one you're using. So if you have different size bits, it's just important that when you put the bit in the machine that you make sure you have the right bit. So if you chose the 2-inch bit, then you need to make sure that you grab the 2-inch diameter bit when you're loading it in the machine. So make sure you get the right one. When I got the bit selected, I'm going to click OK. And I'm going to scroll down. And now that I've put in ramps and I've named this, I'm going to hit calculate. Okay, now what I can do is I can preview this if I want. Preview toolpath, visible because it's checked. And you can see it's putting a 45-degree cut in there. Okay, so that should be good. And maybe what I will do to help that so it doesn't just have an abrupt stop, because we're going to be left with little radiuses again. If I come back to the 2D view, right, and I'm going to click on this, I'm going to click off of these. I'm going to click on each individual line, and I'm going to take this and make this a little longer. So I'm going to grab right here and extend this out just a little bit so that that radius of the bit, okay, can pass the corner there, since we want a nice sharp edge. Do the same thing here. I'm going to extend this out, and I'm going to extend this one out. Now this one over here was at the edge of the sheet, but that's fine. The bit can go further than the edge of the sheet. So we're going to just bring it out so it makes sure it cuts past that radius. That would be same thing down here. I'm going to click on this line, double click it, and get these 9 boxes, and I'm going to pull it out a little bit. And I'm going to come over here and pull that out. And zoom in and pull that out. Okay, so that would be our cuts there. Now that's going to get us our angles. Now it looks like they're attached, but they're not. They're separate lines. All right, because I extended these cuts out and made them longer after I made the toolpath, I need to come up to toolpaths on the top menu and choose recalculate all toolpaths. And when I do this, it will then calculate. I don't have to reset it up, but it's going to calculate those lines to go longer. If I don't do this, even though I stretch the lines, it's not going to do what I want it to do, because it's going to stop where it originally was. That line originally ended when we set up this toolpath. So I'm going to hit recalculate toolpath, toolpaths, recalculate all toolpaths, and it'll tell me, yes, it was done successfully. Okay. Another thing we may want to do is, because we're not cutting the outside all in one cut, it's going to be separate cuts. This bit is going to stop right here, and it's going to leave a little radius in this corner. It's not going to cut a nice square corner on my pieces. So I'm going to select all of these, and I'm going to zoom. I'm going to click them again. I'm going to zoom in and grab this middle node here and pull this out just a little bit, so that my bit will travel past those lines, and then we're left with nice crisp corners. So I'm going to do that again to the bottom. I have them all highlighted. I'm going to find this middle transformation node here, and I'm going to pull that down just a little bit. So it extends out, and my cuts are going to come past those lines. And so now we're ready to set up the outside pieces. I don't need to hit recalculate because I haven't set up these lines yet. If I had already set up a toolpath for these lines, then I would need to hit recalculate after I made them longer. Now what I want to do is I want to select my outside edges, and we're going to cut out the outside edges. So I'm going to hit close on this menu here. I'm going to hit close, and I'm going to select all. So I'm going to hit this one, and I'm going to hold shift and select this one, and this one, all 4 of them. And I'm going to choose a profile this time. We did a profile last cut too, but I'm going to click profile again. And I'm going to go not 3/4. I want to go a little less. I'm going to go 0.7 on this cut. And I need to change my bit. And I'm going to put the 1/4 inch end mill in, 1/4 inch end mill, and hit OK. And this time I want to be outside the line. We're going to try outside the line for the correct cut here. And I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to choose this. I'm going to say outside cut 1. Calculate. So the selected vectors contain groups with multiple open contours. These will be cut as individual contours and not as a single contour. Okay, not a big deal. Okay, so now what I want to look at is I want to make sure that I put the toolpath on the right side. So if I come over here to my 2D view up top and click, what I want to do is I want to zoom in, and you can see that here's my line and my tool is going to be on the outside. That's good. Come here, my tool is on the inside. That's not good. This one, the tool is on the outside, and this one, the tool is on the inside. So I'm going to have to edit this. So I'm going to double click this outside cut 1. And now I can deselect some of these. So I know it was this one. So I'm going to hold shift and deselect. And it was this one here, I believe. Yep, the lines are on the inside. So shift and deselect. So now I just have those two selected, and I'm going to come down to the bottom and hit calculate. Yes, we know that that's going to do that every time I click that. So now what I want to do is I want to select the other two. I've got these two selected. I just ran those as that toolpath. Now I want to create a new toolpath with these ones here. So these two outside edges. So I'm going to hit profile again. And because those lines were on the wrong side, this time I'm going to reverse it. I'm going to just hit inside. Okay, we'll try the inside and make sure those line up right. We're going to stay at 0.7. We're going to keep the 1/4 inch end mill. All that looks fine. And we're going to scroll down and hit calculate. Yes, gives me that warning each time, and that's fine. So now I want to double click or double check. I'm going to zoom in. Here's my line. Here's my toolpath. Yes, it's on the right side. Here again, yes, it's on the right side. Okay, that's what I want it to look like. I got to set up another one because we only went 0.7. And the reason for that is as the bit travels past this, there's a load on the bit, and it could push our pieces once they're cut all the way through. So we want to do most of the cutting and leave just a little piece of wood. And then on the very last pass, we're going to go back and cut just a tiny bit off. So I need to set up another one. And the easiest way to do that, I can come here and like this outside cut 1. I'm going to double click that. And if I come to the bottom and just hit calculate again, I didn't change anything, just calculate. Now, when I click here, those two are highlighted. Okay. So I'm going to create another one. I'm going to hit close right here. And I'm going to create another profile. Those are still highlighted from when I just hit calculate. And this time I'm going to go 0.75. And I'm going to put the 1/4 inch end mill and my passes. I'm going to edit this to 1. And the reason for that is if I don't, we've already cut some of the material and it's going to just go around and cut air because it thinks there's wood there and it's not. So I'm going to hit 1 there and set pass and okay. And I want to be on the outside. Yep. All that looks good. And this is outside pass 2, and these are the left cuts. And I'm going to hit calculate. Yes. Okay. So now if I come back here and I want to see if that's on the right side. So it's going to show me the lines that I see, the arrows for all of these ones that are checked. I want to uncheck these and I want to check just the last one I did. So if I check that, I can see, yep, we're on the outside of the line. Outside of the line. So I'm going to do the same thing for the left side. Now I'm going to double click on profile 1 and I'm going to scroll to the bottom and hit calculate because that will highlight everything that toolpath has. So I'm going to come back here to 2D view and it's going to highlight everything that should be on that set of toolpaths. And I'm going to create a new one. I'm going to go profile and 0.75. And this time I want to set it so my passes is doing 1. That way, otherwise, if I leave it at 2, it's going to do half of the cuts in the air and it's not actually going to cut any wood. So I'm going to set my pass to 1, set pass. Okay. I'm going to scroll down and put a name in here. So I'm going to put left side cuts 2. Yep. We're going to get that warning. And so now you can see I've added that profile. So I should have 2 different cuts for the outside of the left parts. One is going to cut 0.7. One is going to cut 0.75. So for the top one is 1 bit and then the other ones are different size bits. So we got to make sure we can identify them. We want to know which one's the 45 bit. So when we go to save these out, we don't get stuck with different size bits in one toolpath, because then it will mess up our pieces. All right, so we're not quite done. I'm going to close this and come back to my 2D view. If you remember, okay, I'm going to turn off my toolpaths. If you remember, I had some different layers set up, okay? So this one that's turned on is layer 1. If I turn that off, nope, not, this is layer 0. I'm going to turn layer 0 off, and I'm going to turn on rabbets, okay? These ones I need to cut as well. So I'm going to have those rabbets show up, and I'm going to just click each one of these, and I'm going to hold shift and select all 4. And this time I'm going to do a pocket toolpath. I'm going to click on that. I want to go half the thickness of the wood, typically for a rabbet. So that's going to be 0.375 or 3/8 of an inch. We can continue to use the 1/4 inch end mill. That will make it easier for our cuts, that we don't have to switch bits as so much. And I'm going to scroll down, and I'm going to put in here rabbets. Calculate. Now, because the rabbets are not going all the way through, I don't want these cut last. And I want them cut up one of the first few things, because what's going to happen is if I cut the whole outside piece and that piece is just floating there, as it comes to cut these rabbets, it's going to have pressure and it's going to slide around because there's nothing holding it on. So I want to grab this rabbet and I'm going to put it right up here under 45 degrees, because it cuts in the right order, in the order that it's listed. So 45 degrees is going to be first, rabbets, this, and so forth to the very end. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is go back to the 3D view here, and I'm going to preview all toolpaths. So I'm going to click this right here, preview all, and it should show me what it's going to look like. It shows me that it's cutting all the way through. It shows me that there's a rabbet there, and it should be, it doesn't look like it's quite cutting all the way through on that 45 degree bit. I can come in and make sure it is at 0.75, 3 passes, all that looks fine. I'm not sure why it's not showing that it's not cutting all the way through, but we're going to give it a try on the machine. If we need to, we can adjust something after it's done, but we're going to just cut those out as is. So now we're ready to save these. Okay, we save this file, save as 45. And that when I saved that, that doesn't mean my toolpaths are saved. That was just this whole file that we're working in. So now what I want to do is I want to go through individually and save these. So I'm going to hit close right here, and I'm going to save my toolpaths with this one right here. And as I save that, I'm going to, if I have multiple checked, you can see it gives me an error because these are different size bits, different bits. So I want to uncheck that. I want just the 45 degree, and I'm going to save this, and I'm going to say 45 degree bit. That's fine. I can leave it named that. You may want to put your name in front of that so that we can find it. I like to put mine in the student projects on the desktop so that we can find it easily. Save. Okay, now I got to save the other ones. I'm going to uncheck the 45 and I'm going to check the other ones. Those are all done with a 1/4 inch bit. And you can see I did no errors because they're all the same size bit. And I'm going to save this toolpath. Save. And I'm going to call this example 1/4 inch bit. So put your name in there and the size of bit so you know which one it is, and I'm going to hit save. Okay, so now I have my individual toolpath set for what I need to for my 2 different size bits. Close. And that's how you would go about cutting those 45 degrees on the CNC router. We don't want to necessarily cut 45 on the tops and bottoms, so that's why we just did it on the ends. So that's where we got that. Now, if you're ready to do another sheet, what you're going to do, let's say you've got this all saved, you're ready to work on one of those other 2 sheets. Where did they go? Oh, we got them turned off. So if I turn my layers back on, I'm going to work on one of these other 2 sheets. So what I want to do is go File, Save As, and now I can put sheet 2. So as I'm setting these up, I'm not going to get rid of this because I had that saved with a different number or a different name. This new one, I have a new name on, and now I can come over here. So now that I have this saved, I can highlight everything, and I'm just going to move this off. Okay. And these toolpaths still show up. I'm going to come over here and right click on one of the toolpaths and delete
all, delete all, and it will get rid of all your toolpaths.
If you have multiple pieces that have that 45-degree angle, you're going to copy the same process that we just covered in the first part of this video. If these next pieces then use the different profile where it's cut all the way around with the same bit, it's just a square edge, then you can refer to one of the other videos on setting up your sheets for Aspire. But follow the same process for any sheets and all parts that you have that 45-degree miter on the edges. And as always, if you have any questions, please talk to your instructor and get those questions answered.